What's up, guys? Doing a little request video from my buddy Dingo Smith. Welcome back to the shit show here. Okay, so you want to go over how you can practice push hands by yourself without a solo partner. And here's the bad news: you can't. Okay, you will never ever simulate training with a human. Okay, no matter how fancy the dummy is, maybe a wooden dummy, a little throw around guy, Bob the Builder, smack around. There's nothing that will ever replace having a human partner, especially for push hands. I mean, you can simulate some things, but the real skill that you're getting when you're touching somebody is the proprioception, mechanoception, like sensitivity. And sensitivity is a very broad term, okay? So you can practice attributes. This is the good news. You can practice the attributes that you'll need, for instance, in a fight, in a sparring match, or whatever, but you won't be able to implement the attributes. Like, for instance, like playing chess, right? I can say, oh, a bishop does this, and a rook does this, and you know the basic, way the direction that they go, but until you actually play against somebody else who's moving randomly, you're not going to be able to take those attributes and learn how to use them. You know what I mean? It's like you can learn all the moves, all the pieces, how they move, but if you're just going to play by yourself against a static board, you know what I mean? You're not going to understand the game. You never will. So unfortunately, you really have to have a partner who knows how to spar and fight. I mean, you can get attributes that'll help you if something was to happen, but nothing is ever going to simulate someone's presence. And now on the internal ninja, stuff, what you're trying to really get is a sensitivity training, and it's one to deal with their forces and balance and structure, but also analytical, seeing the structure and the timing and stuff like that. And also, like, when you touch someone, there's subconscious levels of reading that you're not, like, until you get to a very high level in martial arts, or probably like race car driving or something, you don't even realize that your subconscious is reading all these extra signals. You know what I mean? Like, before you consciously think, okay, this guy's gonna, if you're pummeling or wrestling with somebody, and before your mind consciously says, oh, this guy's gonna try to do a sweep or like a throw or something that some name, whatever the fuck it is, right? Sometimes you'll notice you have already counted it, and then you're thinking about it, or at the lower levels. You know what I mean? So you don't even realize how much of this analytical sensitivity that you're getting at lower levels subconsciously. On the conscious level, what's important is, for self-training, is you at least have to have had the transmission of feeling of someone's force on you and their intent to change your balance. And you have to, while they're in contact with your body, right? So that's two things. There's one, dealing with the physical, tangible force that they're applying to you, and then second is their intent, and feeling like how their intent changes things, right? So that's really what you want to have a feeling in your body. And what I mean by it's like actual motor memory, body memory. So I'm from the idea of using force to learn no force, okay? Like, start off with big frames, start off with people putting pressure on you, and like feel the pressures and actually have something to measure, something measurable, right? So first thing I do when I teach anybody, even like karate, for instance, when I teach, I always teach them the application of force. This is what this thing does. Okay, this is what things should feel like. If I can hit them with it, I'll hit them with it. And then after that, you start to do it, and the body has a memory for it, so it knows. Okay, reverse punch. It feels like that. It does this thing. Okay. Same thing with water off. Like, my first thing when I put somebody into a water position, I get them to whatever the style. Because again, I coach people rather than style. I don't really care about the system. You know what I mean? So I'll teach people from all over the place. So whatever their frame is, right? I try to get them into their frame, and the first thing I'm going to do is, once I get that, closed kinetic chain to the ground path, is I'm going to put force on them. And I purposely put force on them, right? And I let them get used to first, feeling force, then feeling the force inside them, then I'll shift the force around. The body has a memory of that, okay? So you need to get someone who is at least your size, or weighs between your size and 50% heavier than you. And this is my method, okay? You have to, for at least a short time, okay, even if it's just a day, or an hour or 15 minutes, someone your height to heavier than you, and you want to get them to consciously, like, in a controlled manner, but you want to at least have them putting pressure on you right? So that you have time to think about what you're doing and feel the pressure feels like in your body, building it up, using pump to resist it properly, right? And you know, if someone doesn't have a teacher who knows how to do this, because there's small details to being able to do it correctly. But I firmly believe that it shouldn't be taught light. It should be taught in a sense where you're fighting a little bit in the beginning, and then from fighting, you turn everything off. It's much easier to tell someone to activate a muscle than to turn it off. So I would always suggest, like, you want to do something with tension first, right? And then from there, go into relaxation, right? It's too difficult for people to start and most of the time, you know, these people, they're atrophied anyway. They need some kind of exercise. But going back to the point, guys loading weight on you, right? You're storing that memory of the weight in your bones. How does it feel? How do I have to do this to get into that ground path? How do I keep my central equilibrium? How do I do it? I'm assuming these are advanced people who are asking me this question, by the way. You know, if you should already have the basics of some form down. You know the principles. I mean, this is a semi-advanced, you know, situation here. Okay. So I am going to show you some exercises. Okay, but first I think it's more important to understand this premise. Okay, that what you're going to need to do to be able to practice alone is, as a prerequisite to have any form of resemblance, is to have pressure on you with a cooperative opponent, right, who's working with you so you can load pressures into your body and store the memory of how do you deal with the pressure. Once you have that and how you discharge and, you know, the basics, okay, this would be super high level, literally one day. Teach you how to hold the frame, you feel what the frame feels like, you feel what happens if you do it right. Even if someone's holding you, your body has a memory of that. So now you should be doing your form. Your form is always playing push hands, okay? It's not even just playing push hands, you're actually in a fight, okay? So you want to be thinking, for instance, basic yan form, right? Ward off left. To me, this is a Philly shell. Catching a punch on this hand, okay? This can be a back fist, this could be a throw if you caught the punch, this could be, you know, a block in the other hand, it could be scraping in the face, whatever you're doing in your style. But the point is, there's an imaginary opponent who just threw a left cross or left hook at me, and I'm catching that left hook, and as it's coming, rolling towards it and covering my shoulder. So now if the right hand's coming, it's gonna be coming over my shoulder, right? If he decides to stab or anything as I return the hip, I now can decide to check. That's the whole premise of ward off, right? In a fighting situation. But you have to have memory of someone throwing a punch at you, which is why I always say people should do a hard style first. Like, at least, like, you know, even if it's like a big dojo, taekwondo, something where people are trying to hit you in the face, so you get used to the idea of something coming at your face. Same as with push hands. If your idea is to learn how to wrestle, you have to have physical memory of somebody putting pressure. Okay. Then that physical memory should go into your form. So now if I'm doing ward off, for instance, like small details in ward off that people would not do correctly. Like sometimes you'll see me do like ward off, I can do it from here, I can do it from here. This is after years of training, and I purposely, when I trained secret, I always made my frames huge because I come from classical karate. So when I would train by myself, I'm training down here, okay? Because I purposely am trying to get stronger than everybody else. Okay, so I'm training like this all the time, like when I'm actually training. You know, I have not been training. Okay, I've been cheating, but I'm you know, my thing was I was doing the 2 years of practice every single day without fail. And I would do the form 3 times in the morning, 3 times a night, like that. But point being is, when you get into the form, you want to have the memory of, okay, when someone puts pressure on the wrist and I do this thing, how does this work and operate, right? Or if someone's coming to grab me, how's the fence, the first move in combatives, how's this fence going to operate, okay? How's the feeling of the projection of force, like your body weight transfer or the rebound force or whatever you're working on, how's that feel, and visualize the memory of the feeling into the form. And a defining mark of this, you could see it in someone's, you're gonna see it in their face when you know that they've hit somebody before. But all those people, the power is at the fingertips. The power is at and through, like Wolverine. So when I'm reach out, I feel like my hand, I'm going through my fingertips, like I'm gonna rip my fingers out of my skin. You know, if I'm gonna punch, I'm not so much punching with my body, but I'm feeling like I'm pushing my knuckles out of my body, like I'm unsheathing. That's the stretch reflex I'm looking for through my fingers, right? That's the same reflex I'm going to be looking for in basic push hands, right? Is that, frame, and then you take the bow of the arrow and you put the strings tight properly, right? So it says the power is found like a bow and an arrow shoots from the arrow. What the hell classics say? I haven't read the classics in 20 years, okay? I read them though, okay? I did, I promise. So, anyway, so I'm trying to condense this. You need the storage of memory of force on your body, okay? And then from there you do the form, and do that form replicating what was happening. For instance, someone did the double push and you did ward off. How did it feel when your teacher put you in the position of getting pressure against ward off? Okay, good. Now how do I deal with that with relaxing and using the form? Okay? And this is where the problems come in, because price of myself, you wouldn't realize it in situations where someone putting pressure on you in pung. This isn't pung anymore if I go straight through. Even if he bounces, once I do this, it's not G, right? Or people will force the turn, right? And force you into Lu, and it becomes a whole bunch of things because they didn't even get this concept down. Normally the shoulder will collapse and they do some weird shit in the spine, but they don't even get that far. But I believe that's because in the first teaching moments, the outcome goal wasn't instilled in these people's memory. So I hope that's helpful. All right, so we got that, we got that, we got that. All right, so now we're doing the form, and every time I'm doing the form, I'm thinking, okay, here's my push hands. Here's the guy grabs me, and I have memory of the feeling of when this happened to me before. I've sparred so many, thousands of hours over 30 fucking years, I don't even know. You know what I mean? Between the, wrestling and spar, I don't know. So I have a lot of memory of people trying to grab me, throw me, grabbing this thing, grabbing that thing, punching me. So when I do the form, it's not difficult for me to imagine someone just put pressure on me. So that, at that level, when you have so much body memory of force, you can simulate the push hands experience to some degree in your forms, okay? There's not gonna be anything close to it from an apparatus or calisthenics that's gonna mimic what you can get from your own memory in the form, in the actual forms, okay? Because it's literally what you should be using in the push hands, right? These sequences, it's like a chess game. If you know those four and the other person doesn't know those four, they can't win. They physically can't win. If you know the four moves and they don't, and you're in this game, they can't do anything. They're literally it's like checkmate, it's like fool's mate every single time. So if you have that level where you at least know the basics, then you should be able to practice in the form. But now it's all about getting to attributes, okay? So what kind of force do you need? What kind of body alignments do you need, right? So obviously you have to know, again, the basics. Everybody watching you probably knows all that shit. So you have your ground pass, central equilibrium, blah, 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 all the fancy jong ding, whatever the fuck you want to call it. All right, so you got all that stuff going on. What are the extra attributes that you would want to develop, right? So one would be frame alignment, right? Then the next would be, after frame and alignment, would be tendon strength and actual Lee, because at the end of the day, what technique and timing doesn't allow for, you have to have a backup system, okay? And that's where your muscles come in. Whenever you see push hands competitions, any single time two people meet up at equal skill level and all the internal is at equal footing, in order to accomplish the goal, they're going to use whatever they have left. It's going to come down to force against force, and whoever is the stronger and actually has physical attributes over the other one, okay? It is what it is. So the other aspect of this is that, again, we say this, like, you're practicing double light. If you think that the Tai Chi symbol shows you this, extremes, and you don't want to lift a weight because you're too fucking lazy, so I'm not even going to argue with those people. I think the modern Tai Chi is bullshit, okay? Most of it's bullshit. You all of us lie to each other. So anyway, going back to what I was saying, if you wanted to practice alignments and structures, okay? You see a lot of styles use a rattan ring. This is a Pilates ring. So this is actually pretty cool because you can put pressure on it and do all isometric shit, okay? You don't need to know any cool patterns, you don't need to know anything. What you're gonna use a ring for is just to keep you within the frame of the target, okay? How can you move your hands? And just figure out, and don't use any pattern that you know. For first, you wanna just figure out, how can I move my hands in any direction without breaking my structure from the ground, okay? In any random direction. What different ways does this happen? Put one outside, one inside, okay? how's this gonna work? You know what I mean? How am I gonna be able to hold my balance in all these weird positions, but still keep my central equilibrium, right? After that, you can start doing hand sets and stuff like that. But the point of this is when someone's playing with you, they're gonna bring you out of frame, right? So most martial arts, you know, the good ones, you're treated like a tank with a turret, where I'm here and I move the whole entire thing and then I come at you, right? One way or another. So, you know, it doesn't make a difference where the angles are coming from. Mechanically, is the feet, body, head. You know what I mean? For the most part. Now, what most people are going to happen is that they're going to do something to upset this, where you're either crooked or they've messed up the timing of when you can turn. So figuring out all these awkward positions where one's pulling, one's pushing, you're in these weird spots, and getting your body line is very good for push hands. Next would be how to return fire after someone puts you off balance, right? What this will do, right, is the next step would be now to match the ring to your center, okay? So if I'm going to turn my center, I want to see the ring turn with my center the same amount. And what this will help you with push hands is that, for instance, someone goes to do a push on this side, I want to do roll back. Roll back, if you look at the type of the symbol, the Taiji symbol, one would be black, one would be white, right? So when he goes to put pressure, I let him think he has something to lean on, and once he feels that, I literally retract and become a vacuum. He's full on this side, he has to be empty on this corner, so I immediately push in to make this full. And then just go shooting out that way. So it can be done in a position like this much. When you get the timing of it, I mean, I'm sure I have clips on the video, someone would be doing it. It's just a physics trick. But this is the kind of stuff I would practice. Is trying to get my elbow and my knee, my shoulder and my hip, and my wrist and my ankle to match. Okay? So that even when I'm stepping and punching, I'm trying to get this to match. Okay? Now for me, because I like to keep my hands forward, because again, like, you know, I've been in so many different realms. You know, I always default to being bare knuckle, and I don't hold my hands anywhere near my face. I gotta try to take the center of all times. For that, this worked out well for me because it would, when I retract my guard, it stopped me from doing this, right? Which to me is a dead hand because it's not in active play. I have to now loosen this up and do all this extra work, so I prefer to have my hands in front of me where I can see them.